Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mariana and you're watching Lucifer's Library. In today's video, I'll be taking you through my September reads and I'll be tier ranking them to make this a little bit more fun. But also, I read 15 books in September and I find that so exciting because usually when I'm in a reading slump, I have to wait a month or two for the books to accumulate. But today I get to talk about September's reads. 15 books, let's talk about them. First, let me take you through the categories. Up top, we have the category which is God tier for me. It is would reread. If something is so fun and enjoyable, I would reread it. I don't keep this category for all the books. I'm very picky what goes into it. Then we have this was fun, which is, it could be a 5-star read, but I don't necessarily want to reread it. Then we have okay, I get it. I get the hype. I just noticed that the books are not categorized based on the order that I read them in. So I need to fix this and then I'll be back. Then we have can't think too hard about it, because if I think too hard, all the cracks are gonna start to show and I won't like it. Vanilla. It was okay, it was a little bit boring. I wanted more from it. It didn't give me what I wanted. And lastly, we have Lucifer's favorites. Before we get into the rankings, I just want to thank everybody who is watching this video, and I'll be very grateful if you leave a like or maybe even a subscribe. And I also want to put a quick disclaimer here. I rank books based on enjoyment. A book that I rate 5 stars might not be on the top tier. It may be on the bottom tier because it's all about whether it was memorable, how I feel about it now that I've had some time to think about it. And so the star ratings not necessarily correlate with the way I feel about the book, if that makes sense. Now that we've cleared that up, let's talk about the books, shall we? First up, we have The Layover. I rated it 2.5 stars. It was not my favorite book, the lowest rated book of September, so I think it's gonna go to Lucifer's favorites. I don't think there was much plot, and even the plot that was there, it was overshadowed by the author's descriptions of a stewardess's work or a flight attendant's work. The author is a flight attendant and it is very clear that she wrote this book as a self-insert. She spent way too much time talking about the job and not enough time developing the plot or the characters or just anything else. Up next, we have Poison Study. This was a book I read for the Unfinished Book Club and I rated it 4.25 stars. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. There were some parts that were slow, some parts that I was like, what is going on? But overall, I think that the vibe that I'm getting is okay, I get it. This book is basically about a girl who committed a crime and gets a second chance by doing a job which is food testing for their commander. So she eats the food first to see if there are any poisons in it, and she is trained in poisons and everything. But there is so much more going on. There is magic. Next up, we have Sandman, Volume 1. This is basically just a collection of 8 editions, stories. I don't know what you call them. I rated it 4 stars. It was super fun, but I read 3 in total and I don't really know which ones are which, but I think the first one was my favorite. I think I'm gonna go with Can't Think Too Hard About It because the stories are nice, but the more I think about it, the more it just didn't take me there, you know. It wasn't as fulfilling as some of the other books I read this month. Alright, next we have 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, and this is just a collection of short stories from Asian authors, and overall they are basically, each story is inspired by a myth, a legend. Short stories are usually a hit or miss for me, but this one, some of them were so amazing. Some of them I just thought they had this thing about storytelling that I love. You know, it was a kid when you pick up a fairy tale and you believe in magic, and it's like, oh, some of them just took my breath away. I ended up rating it 3.5 because some of them I didn't like, some of them I did, and I think I'm gonna go with Can't Think Too Hard About It because of the ones that I didn't like. But overall, I enjoyed this short story collection, and I think, or is it anthology? I don't know what an anthology is, to be honest. There are different authors. Each short story is written by a different author, and goodness, I genuinely, I had it on my TBR for a while, and I'm so glad that I finally got to it. Next up, we have You Had Me at Hola, and I rated this book 3.75 stars. It was such a fun book. I didn't expect it to be this fun. There were some pieces of it that were a little bit darker, and overall, I thought the chemistry was fine, but there was something missing, and I didn't truly believe the male character's anxieties, if that makes sense. I feel like it could have been a little bit more developed, but overall I think I will place it again in the Can't Think Too Hard About It, because it is a very good, it is a fun book. Then I picked up The Spanish Love Deception, and I rated it 4 stars. I hated the beginning, don't get me wrong, I really hated the beginning, and I found the main character to be annoying at times, but the male main character, mwah, he was the highlight of this book. I loved him, and I loved the chemistry that they had. I really felt like these two could be together, and I felt the female character's struggles. I felt her previous experiences impact her current life. I really did that, which is something that I felt like the previous book, You Had Me at Hola, could have done a little bit better, but The Spanish Love Deception, it took me where I needed to go. So I'm placing it at okay, I get it. Okay, we have The Caro Haunt. The Caro Haunt I read impulsively. I don't normally pick up horror books, but I was sick of short stories, I was sick of fantasy, and I was sick of contemporary books. I needed to switch it up, and so I picked up a horror book, and it's paranormal. So I got really into this paranormal kick, reading something darker, reading something spooky for once, which September is the perfect time to do so, because it's getting colder, the weather's getting darker outside, and so it was just the perfect read. The Caro Haunt is about this group of people who stay at this haunted place. Our main character is a tour guide for this home, but she was paid by this guy to stay at this house along with a bunch of other people, mediums, paranormal experts. Now they believe that this house was haunted, and while they're there, a lot of stuff happens, and it just takes you on this journey. And oh my goodness, I love spooky stuff. I love horror movies when there is paranormal occurrences happening, and this book just delivered. And I would say, I think I'm gonna be a little bit stricter, and I'm gonna say okay, I get it, but my goodness, it was so much fun. No, okay, I'm gonna put it here just because it's the first one of the very rare horror books that I actually enjoyed. Next up, we have Sandman Volume 2. I rated this one 3.5. It wasn't my favorite, but there are a few that are very fun. I think I'm gonna put it in vanilla, actually. I don't know why, it wasn't as good as the first. Yeah, vanilla. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Anna Dressed in Blood, the 9th book I read that month, and I was like, oh my god, we're barely through half of the month, and I already read 9 books. What the frick is going on? I really got out of the slump, and Anna Dressed in Blood is the one book for me that made me want to binge the duology. Usually if I read a series or a duology, I read the first book and I don't move on to the next ones until like much later. But with Anna Dressed in Blood, I needed to read the second book, and so for that one I would say this was fun, because the first book really surprised me. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun. It's about this guy who is basically a ghost hunter, and he ghost hunts Anna. She surprised him, and there is so much more to her story and why she's dead and what happened. So the first book is about that, and the second one, I can't really tell you because it's a spoiler, but that ending really got me. The whole book is such an adventure, and I think it's one of my favorite duologies I read of this year. That was fun. Yeah, it belongs in this category, both books. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I rated both of these books 4.5 stars. Okay, next we have Middle Game. Middle Game. Oh, this one I don't know where to put it. Middle Game by Sean McGuire. Middle Game I also rated 4.5. I'm torn between okay, I get it, or this was fun. It's a book that you have to be in a very specific mood to read. It's about two twins who got separated at birth. One of them leans more towards being very logical, mathematical, and the other one is very good with words. And I don't know how to explain it. They were a scientific experiment in hopes to discover this impossible city. It's so it's hard to explain. I'm really proud that I picked this book up, or that I actually finished it, because it was on my radar for a while. I don't know, I think I'm gonna call it one of the greats of this month. Blackwater Sister. I rated it 3.5 stars, but you know what? It belongs there. It was so much fun. It's about this girl who is basically struggling, first of all, with her identity. She can't come out to her parents and tell them that she has a girlfriend, that she is a lesbian, but also she starts hearing the voice of her grandma. And basically when they move to, I don't know what country it was, but it was in Asia, and basically she starts hearing the voice of her grandma. Then she uncovers this whole plot backstory to her family and just ghosts, goddesses, and it's an adventure. Then I picked up Sleeping Giants, completely on a whim, by the way. 4.25 stars. I don't know. I loved the format this book was written in. It's basically about this army, or this group of scientists who stumble upon giant parts, basically a hand, a leg, whatever, and they start searching around the world for those parts. But it's written in the format of interviews, and I think that's why I'm gonna put it in here, because it really was a fun time. Because of the interviews, it's very fast-paced. There's always something happening, and also the characters, I'm like, what's going on with you? And yeah, it's a ride. Let's talk about My Killer Vacation. Now this one I had very high hopes for. Let me tell you something, it was a fun book when you count the mystery and everything and separate it from the romance. The romance itself was very solid. The mystery, it fell apart there because it's so clearly a romance. The mystery was very predictable. And also, My Killer Vacation on itself, when you put these two parts together, it's like the romance, while there's a dead body, is very inappropriate. The characters have chemistry at inappropriate times, and there is a time and a place, you know? So 2.75 stars, and I would call it vanilla. But also, if I just counted the romance, I would put it here. But because there's a whole mystery behind it, it has to go down there. But the romance was very solid. The smut was very solid. Kingdom of the Wicked. Last book that I read, which is the 15th book. I have mixed feelings. I read the first book, really loved it, but I thought it was a little bit unfinished. It asked more questions than it answered, and so I thought, okay, the second book, it's gonna give us more answers, and I found that the second book was insufferable. I DNF'd it. The main character was so annoying, which in the first book I guess you can kind of overlook, but she has the confidence of an old white man. And I'm saying this because she has these stupid theories. She thinks she knows everything, but she is completely wrong. However, she has no problem pronouncing these theories to the world, just embarrassing herself, giving me secondhand embarrassment. And I'm like, girl, you are stupid. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea of the world, what the world you stumble upon is like, and you just stride in here, walk in here, think you control the place, think you can control these, I don't know, millions, eons of years old characters, and just know better than them about their world. Are you stupid? So the second book and I have problems, but the first one was, I guess, a solid read. However, it wasn't perfect, and because I read this And because I started the second one, it ruined the first one for me. So I think I'm gonna put it in here. And I think this is the perfect, yeah. We don't have anything I would reread. Perhaps maybe Anna Dressed in Blood, the duology. Perhaps maybe all of these I am interested in rereading, and Sleeping Giants. I think these would be the ones that I would maybe pick up in the future. However, because I just read them right now, I don't see myself ever rereading them, except maybe Anna Dressed in Blood. Almost said Anna and the French Kiss. Whoops. So I guess this is my tier ranking for September's books. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I don't necessarily talk about what the books are about. If you're interested, pick them up, but I'm so bad at explaining, you will by the end of it not want to read the books at all. And also because some of them I don't even remember anymore. So I guess this is it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and leave a subscribe if you want to, but you know, you don't have to. And I guess I will see you next time.